Grand evening, everyone. It is Saturday, March 28th, 2026, 1800 hours and 10 minutes Central Daylight Time here in the United States. And we have quite a few things to get through today. There's been a lot of developments recently, and it could not wait another day. I had to come on now. I meant to last night. So it is a bit of an emergency to do this now. We'll start here. So Russia is about to ban gasoline exports from April 1st. That's from TASS and RT. So when Russia does that, Europe is going to be very much so out of gas. They've been buying a lot of Russian gas this entire war. Uh, they don't really have enough domestically in their countries over there in Europe. So they've been still buying Russian gasoline, I believe, for a long time. And that may have a huge effect on Europe and nearby, everywhere that they export to. So that's going to be huge for Europe. The effect on Europe is going to be absolutely massive when that happens. First, Europe. So that is going to be absolutely catastrophic for Europe. It's going to get very apocalyptic over there, especially. We have fuel shortages going around the world right now. Australia, India. There's even some unconfirmed reports, I'll say, of that happening here in the US. It is potentially confirmed now. I actually may say that it is confirmed because someone in Florida recorded a gas station and they were out of fuel due to delayed shipping time. So the fuel shortages are just starting up here in the US. We have quite a bit of a reliance on the Middle East for fuel, a lot more than the US should, since we could get all the oil and gas that we need from our country and parts of Canada and even Venezuela. Say if we simply get all the oil and gas we need from Venezuela, there won't be any fuel shortages here. If the proper infrastructure exists here and in Venezuela, which we might not have it there in Venezuela yet. So we have fuel shortages happening globally at this time. And this here from Defense Index. Australia has been forced to order emergency fuel from the United States for the first time in decades as the global oil crisis disrupts supplies. That's from Sky News. It's not really disrupting supplies, it's totally shut down as for the Middle East. There's nearly no oil coming from the Middle East now. And then we have Yemen and the Houthis in Yemen. They have joined the war against Israel and the US. So Yemen has joined the war against Israel and the US. Another country has joined World War III and is directly fighting and launching missiles at Israel and the US over there in the Middle East. And here is further evidence of fuel shortages. So we have right here, we have fuel shortages in many countries with various governments implementing emergency measures. This is from, not familiar with this source. It's some kind of shipping data about commodities, trade flow analysis. Uh, okay, it's very relevant. They say shortages are starting to appear in many countries, and governments are trying to reduce oil demand through emergency measures, implementing remote work, lowering speed limits, expanding public transport, and restricting fuel sales, etc., as the conflict continues. Let's see here. More countries will need to act, and the measures will become more draconian. That is exactly right. They're going to try to do a lot of what people have been talking about, energy lockdowns. That is what they're going to try to do in many countries. They'll do it in a lot of countries. It will not be a thing here in the US. No one will follow that. Um, Not many anyway. If they do energy lockdowns here in the US, uh, if the price of fuel even goes to $5 per gallon for regular fuel, that's over $80 to fill most tanks of gas for vehicles. We're talking about $85. $85 it would be about to fill a vehicle to a full tank. $85, right around there. So that's what will happen very soon when the price of fuel goes to $5 a gallon for regular gas. And it is already there for diesel. And when there's no diesel, there's no food getting to the stores. So I asked recently if gas goes to $8 per gallon, which it will be over $100 to fill a vehicle with gas. So if the gas goes to about $8 a gallon, it'll go to $136 to fill 17 gallons. $136 it will go to fill regular gas in a vehicle. No one, everyone will go broke just from trying to fill gas at a gas station, trying to fill their vehicles with gas. So once it goes to $5, it's pretty much unaffordable. It's definitely unaffordable for a lot of drivers and companies that deliver supplies and things like that. So if it goes 5 for regular, it's going to go higher than that, 6 or more for diesel, and that's over $100 easily for diesel vehicles. That's what is going to happen. Literally, we are on track for that within the next few months. I think within the next 30 days, it will go to $5 per gallon. That is my prediction. And then when that happens, shortly after, no vehicles will be running because the diesel is too expensive, and shortages could develop, as we were just saying, that could develop further here in the United States. So it's an absolutely massive fuel crisis we have going on globally. Then we have this here from Falcon Updates HQ. So Iran's Bushehr nuclear power plant was hit in a late U.S. and Israel strike. That's the third reported attack. The site holds radioactive material, raising serious safety concerns. Officials warn damage could trigger a dangerous nuclear incident. Then here's some recording of that over there. The people laughing must be they must be drunk and really stupid, because when that uh when that nuclear power plant gets blown up, it'll be a total radiological disaster, and they would probably be caught in that fallout and radiation and have very little chance of survival. When this place gets totally blown up, the radiation and the fallout will spread over most of the Middle East and the Gulf states, especially by the Strait of Hormuz, like the UAE, Qatar, and Bahrain. They'll be covered by radiation and fallout when this does get totally blown up. So that's a thing I've been watching very closely. Uh, it is one of the most concerning things that could happen in the Middle East right now, besides actual nukes being dropped in the Middle East, which is also very likely right now. The president could do that at any time because some U.S. bases were just hit recently in the Middle East. And I'm trying to find out what bases those were. Though they were hit in the Middle East. A lot of U.S. bases were hit by Iran in the Middle East. Let's see. Once again, this is initially a live stream recording that is posted to my YouTube channel. You may all watch it afterwards as well. Let's see. I think it was Kuwait. Let me see. Most recent one. Okay, so it was multiple bases across Kuwait, Qatar, Bahrain, the UAE, and Jordan uh, earlier in this war. And then, most recently, within the last day, it was Prince Sultan Air Base in Saudi Arabia. Iranian missiles and drones injured 10 to 15 troops. Some of them were serious injuries. They damaged refueling aircraft as well. I think it was a KC-135 and other aircraft were damaged in the strikes. At least I think the KC-135, the refuel, plane there was totally destroyed in these strikes on Prince Sultan Air Base in Saudi Arabia. That was within the last 24 hours. So we had all of that happen, and U.S. bases are being hit very hard in the Middle East now. This is from Alexander Dugin. He's actually, if I remember correctly, he's President Putin's advisor. And he said World War III has already begun. Why pretend that it is still possible to avoid it? Let's accept the facts. Just find your own camp. Don't miss it once more. The limits of errors are achieved. That was from Alexander Dugin. Now, this is a port in Kuwait. The biggest port in Kuwait has been fireballed by Iran. It's hit very hard. It was destroyed.
والغيم نعمة ربي اللي احنا ننتظره لوثوه لنا الدخان الحريق.
I don't know why he's showing all the smoke in the sky. He's going a little way too far with that. But that's where it is, right there. So the largest port in Kuwait was destroyed by Iran. That'll have a lot more of an effect on shipping around the Middle East, maybe globally. That was their largest port that got destroyed in an apocalyptic black smoke cloud. Let's see here. So this is exactly true. The IRGC said this recently, especially if they have their power grid taken out on April 6th, if I remember correctly. Yep, April 6th, the day after Easter. That is when President Trump is going to take out Iran's power grid. So the IRGC is preparing to attack the entire Gulf, the entire Persian Gulf over there. So that's the UAE, Bahrain, Qatar, Saudi Arabia. They intend to be at war with all of them. That's going to be a serious escalation. There's going to be a lot more, a whole lot more actions taken after that happens. All of those countries are going to get fully involved in the war when that happens, when they're all attacked further. They'll have to fight in self-defense and defend their countries from being destroyed by Iran. Then we have this here. Marines are bracing for immediate deployment amid not the Iran War, World War III. Mass mobilization could become reality. That's from a U.S. general there. This right here is saying the Marine Corps reserves are about to be mobilized. It's telling the Marines in the Marine Corps Reserve to be prepared to be deployed. This is what it says. It says, our Marines, this is from March 26, 2026. Marines, our nation is in a consequential moment. Global events are shaping our nation's security, and we must be ready. I ask you directly, are you truly ready to deploy, fight, and win? Are your skills sharp, your standards high, and your gear prepared for immediate movement? Is your desert marpet readily available? Is your gear packed and ready to pick up and move? Or is it stored away in a corner of your home? Are your family's affairs in order? When the call comes, readiness will be assumed, not questioned. Your readiness is not a declaration, it is a daily commitment. This is not a theoretical exercise. Our forces are currently engaged in operations connected to Iran and are positioned to preserve stability in the Western Hemisphere. Our enemies get a vote, and mass mobilization could become a reality. Let's see here. Find where I was. This is not a theoretical exercise. Our forces are currently engaged in operations connected to Iran and are positioned to preserve stability in the Western Hemisphere. Our enemies get a vote, and a mass mobilization could become a reality. That's where I was. We are operating in this environment now. History demands our readiness today, tomorrow, and every day. Your preparation for combat is forged in your daily actions, your training, and the seriousness with which you handle every responsibility. We are measured not by our intentions, but by what we can do right now. Check your readiness, tighten your standards, prepare your family. Our nation expects a disciplined, capable force ready for immediate action. That force is Marine Forces Reserve. That standard begins with and must be held by you. That is from Leonard F. Anderson, I think the fourth. He's a lieutenant general in the U.S. Marine Corps. He's a commander of the Marine Forces Reserve and Marine Forces South. So that's from a general of the Marine Corps, of the Marine Corps Reserve. So they are going to soon mobilize reserve forces, starting with the U.S. Marine Corps Reserve. That is another sign. These are the things that happen before a draft. They use the reserves before the draft. So we could see the Army doing this soon. I'm sure the Army will do the same very soon. The Marines and the Marine Corps Reserve are all deploying, many of them to Iran. And I said this before, diesel is food. Diesel shortages equal food shortages. That's exactly how it works. So once there's a shortage on diesel, there will be food shortages everywhere. Everyone must prepare for that eventuality. It will happen very soon at this rate. We have global shortages happening all over the world. This is a global system. It's not just the US, it is a global system. So when it runs out in most places and we're not able to get oil and gas from the Middle East, and we are not getting oil and gas from Venezuela right now, which is crazy, um, or our own country enough. So we are going to have diesel shortages soon that will result in food shortages. And when that happens, it's 9 meals to anarchy. Okay, so everyone prepare for that. That is what is coming. That is what is going to happen. Then we have this from Terror Alarm. More than 3,500 U.S. troops, including the USS Tripoli, with about 2,500 Marines, arrived in the Middle East on Saturday. So we have thousands of U.S. troops in the Middle East as of today. This is going to be very interesting to see what they do, and it'll likely be what I said. The U.S. Marines and those paratroopers are going to likely secure and occupy Karg Island, and then they're going to the other islands over there. Then they're going to try to secure the Strait of Hormuz and the coastlines of Iran, and then deploy further from the coastlines. So that's likely what they'll do. That's one of the smart things they could do over there. They have to constantly worry about missile attack from Iran as they are well in range of Iran's missiles, and Iran has a million troops prepared to counter the U.S. troops, which that's, let's see, that's maybe 5,000, 6,000. That's 6,000 additional to what is already over there. I think we have about 60,000, 60, 70,000 troops, top 70,000 uh, in the Middle East right now. So that's still being outnumbered more than 10 to 1 by Iran's million troops they have prepared right away to fight the U.S. forces. That is what Iran is going to be countering with right now. So we'll see exactly what Iran will do, how they respond. They could very easily respond with their near endless supply of missiles on the U.S. forces that are trying to advance and occupy where they need to over there. Just that is very, very dangerous of an environment to be in. Uh, they're going into they're gonna be walking into explosions left and right, and they have to fight thousands of Iranians at the same time. That is going to be a very difficult fight over there in the Middle East. Very, very difficult. I expect heavy casualties over there. Uh, Even all of those ones that are deployed, that number, all of them might not make it more than a week. That's only about 6,000 right there. 6,000 against thousands of Iranians. Uh, a total of a million starting off. Then Iran has over 2 million more about that they could deploy after that. So as for numbers, being uh, there's no outnumbering Iran really. Not for a while. Not until after their power grid is taken out. Millions of them could be unalived from their power grid being taken out. Again, that begins April 6th, right after Easter. Some reason President Trump is waiting until right after Easter to do that. Waiting for holidays to pass is that's a strategic vulnerability right there. It's a stupid mistake. Then we have the vice president, the US vice president, announcing that President Trump has decided to continue the military operation against Iran until the regime is toppled. So this war, World War III, will not end until the Iranian regime is changed or totally destroyed. It's not going to end in a month from now. It's not going to end in September. It will continue to go on until that objective happens or the US and other allies are not able to do so. Then we have this here from RT. US and Israel has begun bombing Iran's water reservoirs. That's from Fars News as well. So the US and Israel are doing a war crime. They're targeting the water supply in Iran. And then April 6th, they'll be taking out the entire power grid of Iran, and millions may die from that. So that is what they're doing. That's what's going on with that. Uh, it's getting very intense. Thousands of U.S. soldiers are set to be fighting there in the Middle East. I hope they have achieved their objectives, though it's going to be immensely difficult to achieve those objectives, being that outnumbered and having missiles fired at them uh, almost at every moment. So Iran will retaliate on the entire Middle East April 6th onward, and then they will retaliate on the U.S. directly when that happens. They have said they will do that, and they will do that, and they are within their rights to use WMDs when their power grid is taken out. That is what the uh, equal response is. Countries are allowed to do an equivalent response to the attacker when that happens. So we could see Iran launching nukes at Israel and the US shortly after or on April 6th. So keep on preparing. Do not get complacent. This war does not end in September. It will hit the fan this year. It absolutely will. Keep on preparing. Uh, I always recommend physical assets. Prepare physically, mentally, and spiritually as this World War III continues and as SHTF fast approaches. I will be back soon with further news and personal analysis on all of these topics and everything going on that I find and is worth talking about, pointing out like this. Uh, I do see and know more than even this, but I'd probably be going on for well over an hour. Uh, there is a lot going on. This is most of it, though. This is, again, these are really key points. This is a lot of it. This is what people really need to know. So please like, comment, and subscribe. Share to others you know who are interested and may need to know this information and and need to prepare further. Everyone, I recommend, needs to be a prepper now. Those who do not prepare are going to be like a sheep going off of a cliff and following a herd. That is what will happen to most people who do not prepare. Over 90% of people will not survive uh, when the power grid goes down so much as that. And we have the fuel shortages imminent as well. We cannot forget about that. And that will lead to the food shortages, and shortly after that is when purge like conditions happen and anarchy. So please keep on preparing physically, mentally, and spiritually. Once again, I will be back soon with further news and personal analysis and talking about all of this that is happening now during this time of World War III. Love, light, and blessings to you all.